So growing up, I've always been the type of person that wanted to fit in, and it always led me into trouble or doing dumb shit I'm not supposed to be doing. And then you also have the part where you're now attaching yourself to other people. You don't know what it's like to be yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you know what it's like to be around these people because then you act a certain way. You're a certain type of, you know what I mean? You're a certain type of person around these people. And that's why I remember, like, when I got into fitness, I had to isolate myself. I remember my best friend was actually, you know, I think he was in school out of state. That's my one best friend, you know what I mean? The one that I went out with all the time. And then I was living with my family, but I had to isolate myself. I had to remove myself from other people's opinions and what they thought of me. And I also had to face the truth in that time of being, isolated. I remember, you know, my biggest truth I had to face was that I was lazy and going nowhere for my life. I had to face that truth. No matter how uncomfortable it was, I had to sit there and soak it in. Because if it wasn't for that, I would not have made the change I made. I was 280 pounds of fat. Now I'm like, the lowest I've got was 195 for stage competition weight. But like right now, I'm sitting around 245, which, I mean, to me is still considered heavy, but it's mostly muscle mass. So my biggest thing was, yes, I had to isolate myself to really figure out who I am as a person without these influences. You know what I mean? Like, people are always going to influence your thoughts and your decisions. So if you really sit there and think about the type of person that you would be if you were to remove yourself, if you didn't care about other people's opinions and you decided you're going to do what makes you happy and what feels you. You know what I mean? Like, whatever it is. I had to take a step back to figure out what does Annie want to do, not what my family wants me to do, what my friends want me to do. You know what I mean? Like, what these people think I want to do. It's what I know I want to do, which is helping people with, you know, fitness and mental health. That's what I love to do. And that's where I really, grew as a person because, again, I can't help people if I can't help myself. So I had to do a lot of deep diving to figure out who I was. And that's why I am here now making this podcast, you know what I mean, to help other people, especially men who struggle. Because I've struggled for so many years. So I figured, that struggle wasn't for nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I was put here for a reason. I went through all that pain and suffering for a reason, and it was to help you guys. And, I don't regret going through that. That's why I say, like, dude, no matter what kind of struggles you're going through, it's making you a better person. It's designing you to be greater. You're destined to be great, and the struggle is a part of that. The suffering is part of that. It's not. It's just a temporary thing. It's not forever thing. So don't think that you're gonna have to suffer forever. I can vouch for that. Because I suffered for a good point in my life, good and bad suffering, and something good always came out of that. So think of it that way. Shift your mindset to know that your struggle is building you to be great, to be greater. You know what I mean? To be the person that God has designed you to be. We don't know our full potential. I mean, you'll never know your full potential unless you try. I don't know my full potential, but I know I have potential. You see what I'm saying? Like, I know I can do great things in this life. And if it wasn't for bodybuilding, I would have never found this passion, or I would have never really found my true potential. I would have kept living that life of binge eating and not caring about my life. You know what I mean? Like, to go from somebody who does nothing with their life but go out and, watch Netflix and binge eat every night to somebody who can do, like, I mean, shit, I'm doing many things. I'm doing this podcast. I do personal training, online coaching. I do bodybuilding shows, and it's so many things I do, and I enjoy it. But the thing was, I had to go through the suffering to get here. I had to find myself through the suffering. And, you really find your calling, your power when you isolate yourself from everybody. Because when you have people in your ear saying, oh, yeah, you should do this, you should do that, now you're misguided because because you don't have, if you don't have a clear vision of what you want, obviously anything that anybody outside of you, whatever they tell you, is going to sound good. Because I've been there. I've had my family say, oh, you should go to school for business. Dude, I hated that. I flunked out the first year, didn't survive the first semester. I wasted it. You see what I'm saying? But to my family, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a smart person. I know I'm smart, but that's not what I wanted to pursue my life in. It was just feeling like, okay, like I don't know what I'm doing with my life. So my parents were like, oh, you should go to school for business. You see what I'm saying? So, and I'm not knocking school, but it wasn't for me. I'd rather learn what I want to learn about, which is fitness, health, and all the things that help people get better. And that's what I aim for. That's my goal in this life. That is my purpose. And when I started this podcast, this is when I really found myself because again, it took me years. I had to go through versions of me that I did not like to build the version of me that I do like. You see what I'm saying there? Like I used to be manipulative, controlling, and narcissistic. Really terrible traits. You know what I mean? Like you don't realize that. And then when I started this podcast, I didn't get to really. I had the calling 2 years ago, but there's no way I could do something like that if I wasn't mentally there, if I wasn't doing the work on myself. If this was 2 years ago and I did this podcast, I would still been a manipulative narcissist, and my attitude would have been totally different versus now. So that's the other thing I believe is like everything has its timing, divine timing, and even though God put that vision in my head, it doesn't mean it was time for me to act on it. Yes, I can act on it, but it didn't mean, hey, go ahead and start that podcast. No, it means, hey, start figuring out what it is that really fuels your passion outside of fitness. You know what I mean? Because I got so wrapped up in bodybuilding that I forgot who I was. So, I've really had to take a step back and realize, is that all it is? Like, is that all I am? Like, am I just a bodybuilder, or can I do more? You see what I'm saying there? So that's where I had to ask these questions. And like, I started doing these podcasts. I was like, holy shit, I love this. I enjoy this. I always have these powerful insights that I share with other people. I'm always helping somebody. You know what I mean? Every single day, I'm helping somebody, and nothing fuels me more, makes me feel more fulfilled than to help somebody. You know what I mean? Doesn't matter how many people I help. If I can help one person a day, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like I'm happy with that. So my whole goal is to make a bigger impact. Before I got into fitness, I felt like a lot of things were impossible. I thought losing weight was going to be impossible because I got to myself to a point where I'd look in the mirror and be like, "Holy crap, that's a lot of weight to take off. How are you going to do this?" I haven't, I've seen people lose weight, but I couldn't really wrap my head around it. Like I'm like, how did you stick to that? How is that possible? What did you do? But then when I really it's and then it clicked in my head. I was like, dude, people are just a lot of people just are not willing to try hard enough. You know what I mean? Like that's where people fail is because you're not really trying hard enough. You think it's impossible because you're not putting in enough effort to make it happen. You know what I mean? And I've been on both sides where I've tried to get healthy so many times. I've been offered a incentive to lose weight. I was offered um, a car, and I remember I just got in a wreck like a week ago before this offer, and then the whole issue was that I couldn't be insured by another insurance company because of my reckless driving history. I was doing 140 miles per hour when I spun out and totaled the car. So there's no way, and that was a sports car, and there was no way that insurance would insure another car unless I had somebody sign me on to their insurance. And my mom was like, "Hey, if you lose 50 pounds in a year, I will help you get another car. I won't buy it for you, but I'll help you insure it." So I said, "Holy crap, that sounds like a great idea." You know what I mean? And let's make this happen. And I remember, I was excited to start, and then a week or two, well, like 2 weeks passed, and I think every day I was actually stepping on a scale to really monitor the progress. First of all, big mistake: don't do daily scaling. Don't weigh yourself daily. It's going to be very disappointing. And so yeah, I did that, and I remember I'm thinking, dude, this thing is not moving anyway. It might move, it might budge a little bit. And it was one of those, not the digital ones, but the little, yeah, with the little needle. And I remember it wasn't budging, dude. Like, it will go up, it will go down, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, we're not doing anything here. It's not working. So I'm like, this is impossible. There's no way I'm gonna lose 50 pounds in a year. And then I gave up. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't see it happening. So it got to the point where I had to look myself in the mirror, and I really hated what I saw, and I knew something had to change because I don't care what anybody says, but being fat is very embarrassing. It is one of the most embarrassing things I had to experience. It is uncomfortable. It is a struggle. It's an everyday struggle, mentally and physically, to be overweight. You see what I'm saying? And I'm not knocking anybody for being overweight, but I chose a different kind of suffering. I didn't want to keep suffering in that mindset. I didn't want to keep suffering in that body. If I was going to suffer, I was going to suffer for something. And that's where the shift happened. I hired a coach, and then I started from there. And I remember I saw changes because the other thing is, people don't stick around long enough to see change. We give up because, oh, it's been 3 or 4 weeks and I haven't seen any progress, or the results. You see what I'm saying? You're looking for results. You're supposed to be looking for progress, and not even big progress, but small wins, man. Just small wins. Even if you feel better after 3 weeks, you're gonna notice that. You know what I mean? So 3 to 4 weeks, you're really gonna feel it. And 6 weeks and on, that's when you start really seeing the differences, and people will see it too. And I've seen that for myself because I stuck to something for 6 weeks, and people are like, "Holy crap, you're actually losing weight. You look different." And also proper guidance. That's all it was. I didn't go and I tried to do all these things I see on the internet, and that did not work out. It was a lot of misleading information. Again, that's why I hate a lot of, I don't want to say hate, but I don't like a lot of content creators or influencers who just talk the talk. You know what I mean? They don't have any actual information on fitness and dieting. They don't know what they're talking about, but just because they're shredded and have a nice body, they're gonna act like they know what we're talking about. And usually, it's very misleading. So that's why I have a thing against influencers. But back to the story. Yeah, no, I decided I'm gonna stick to this because I saw how much better my quality of life was, and I want to keep that up. You know what I mean? Like, this was my new life, and I didn't even think about it. Like, I decided I was going to make that change. I got a coach to write out my diet and program for the gym. And day one, I was on it. I was straight on it. I didn't say, I'm going to wait till like next week. I'm going to wait till then. No, when I said I want to do it, I went and did it. And I remember my mom was like, I told her, I said, I'm paying a coach $150 a month to help me lose weight. And then she doubted me. She was like, dude, there's no way you're gonna do it. You're gonna quit within like if a month or so. You know what I mean? Like, if that. And I can't be mad at her. I couldn't be mad at her because, again, I've never been the type to stick to things. So she can only go off what she has evidence on, which is me always quitting. You know what I mean? I couldn't even do it for a car. Of course she doesn't think I'm gonna do it for myself if I couldn't do it for a freaking car. And then that's where I proved everybody wrong. You know what I mean? Like, and that ended up initiating a lot more. Like, it made a deeper impact, and then my family started to really watch their health, and they started going to the gym, and now everybody in my family goes to the gym. Well, for the most part, everybody's very mindful of what they eat and their activity level. So yeah, that's the biggest thing is if you want to see change around you, be the one to change first. Lead by example. And yeah, no, that just like that showed me how much power small changes can make. Like I just decided, it led up to this point. It wasn't just, oh, I'm gonna dive deep into it, but I did try. I did have a home gym where I went and worked out here and there, and then I still ate like crap because I was very ignorant to diet and exercise. I was just thinking, okay, like if I eat a nice sized steak and French fries after this, I'll be Gucci. You know what I mean? Protein and carbs, but that's not how it works. Now, being a coach, I understand how much goes behind losing weight and, you know, how to program these things. And I was so ignorant years ago to it. I thought maybe if I just did a few sit ups a day and go for a run, I could have six pack abs in a matter of months. You know what I mean? Like that's how I was thinking. I can't, and you can't blame people for thinking that way because again, it's just ignorance. Doesn't mean you're dumb. Doesn't mean you're stupid. But again, we won't know unless we try and actually learn from that. You see what I'm saying? So if I didn't try to get healthy, I would have never learned all these things. You know what I mean? Now I learned the human anatomy and how body mechanics work, just different things, supplementation, nutrition, and building a program. I know how to do all these things. And back then I felt like, holy crap, there's no way I can accumulate knowledge because I was never good in school. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, it's because I chose not to really pay attention. I didn't really have that kind of, interest in school. And I knew I was smart. I was doing people's college work for them to get paid. I got paid for that. You know what I mean? Like, so I knew I was smart. I just didn't want to use it. I didn't want to really take advantage of that. And if I were to use it for business or did something my family, told me to do, it wouldn't be fulfilling. Versus me learning how the body works and how the mind works, that's where it really like fulfills me. You know what I mean? I enjoy learning things like that. I enjoy learning how the mind works and how the body works. And yeah, no, it's just this whole journey has been a lot of self discovery, and I just never realized taking that one step into this world would lead me all the way down here. You know what I mean? Like I've done so many things from gym commercials to a cinematic documentary to, becoming the youngest board member at my gym, at my YMCA. So it's like, yeah, no, I don't call it, I'll never call it overnight success, but the days do add up, and it will just happen. All these things do happen overnight out of nowhere, just not the next night that you think it is, like how you think it works. It's adding up the days, and the days do count. Trust me on that. So going back to the idea of things being impossible, things only seem impossible because you've never tried it, you've never done it, and or you've never stuck around long enough to see it unfold and happen for you. A lot of people do quit before their breakthrough. You know what I mean? Like there were times where I did want to quit because, again, when I decided I'm going to be a bodybuilder, it took it to a whole different level of suffering. You know what I mean? I had to do a show, and I remember I had to wake up early, put in my cardio time, an hour on a treadmill, and another hour post workout, and it was just a lot going on. There were a lot of days where I didn't want to wake up. I was low carbs, feeling depleted, and I'm just like, dude, why am I doing this? This sucks. You know what I mean? Like, but again, that's where you learn delayed gratification. I saw my body change, and you know as that's happening, I all these opportunities happen because I started to align myself with who I wanted to be, and that aligned me with the right opportunities. Because nothing happened. The gym commercials, the cinematic documentary, and me becoming a board member, that didn't happen until like a couple weeks after I started prep. You see what I'm saying? And if I decided to stay still and comfortable I would have never been in shape to do my cinematic documentary. Like, he caught me at such a good time with the offer that, you know what I mean? Like, if he would have caught me 3 months ago, I would not have been ready for that. You know what I mean? I would not have been in shape, and the a lot of scenes were shirtless, like on the beach and things like that. And I, luckily, I just finished the show and I had 6 pack abs, and I was, chiseled and all that. So things aligned perfectly. Because if I didn't decide to do a show and decide just to work out and just make it a regular thing, as a hobby, then I wouldn't be ready for these opportunities or presenting these opportunities. But it was because I decided to follow my dreams and do something worthwhile. That's when opportunities really came. So that's my other biggest advice is be in alignment with the person it is that you want to be. You're not far from it. It's actionable steps each day to become that person. You know how that person looks. You know what that person do every day, in and out. So what's stopping you? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are so used to their current routine, and it's hard to break out of that. You know what I mean? When you have a routine, but that's what I'm saying. It takes just a couple of days doing something unfamiliar for it to become familiar. You know what I mean? Like, there's people out here that think that dieting is taboo. Dude, we as humans are meant to eat food that nourishes us. You see what I'm saying? Like, we're not supposed to be eating burgers and french fries every day and shitty food that's processed from, factories that we have no idea what 90% of their ingredients are. You know what I mean? Like, we're not meant to eat shit like that. But society has put in your head that that's normal, and you eating healthy is not normal. It's the other way around. Sorry to burst your bubble. So yeah, I've learned a lot through this bodybuilding journey, and I really wanted to share with you guys because, again, it helps people, it motivates people, it inspires. Even though I don't totally believe in motivation, it's good to have motivation. The reason I don't believe in motivation is because I've been motivated before, but it doesn't stick. It doesn't get the job done. It'll get the job started, but it won't finish the job. Discipline finishes the job. Consistency finishes the job. So yeah, no, I've learned a lot through this journey, and throughout this podcast series, I'm going to share all that with you, and we're going to dabble in men's mental health and different categories, especially nutrition. I'm not a dietitian, but I'm going to help you with simplifying things for you to lose weight and for you to be just overall healthier. It doesn't have to be miserable, by the way. It's it's controlling what you eat and being mindful. You can still have your favorite foods, just in moderation. But yeah, no, I'm just here to help, and I'll see you guys in episode 3.